following footage was captured on a flight from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas-Fort Worth International. The weather was pretty good, with just some light clouds initially. The altitude was about 18,000 feet around Lake Okeechobee, and then the cruising altitude was about 28,000 feet. Have a look at this incredible footage in infrared, folks. Just incredible. The visible spectrum, we're going to see a lot of haze. Now we're flying at about 18,500 feet. We're around Lake Okeechobee here, and let's look out the window without the filter. Look at that. Lots of haze. We're just on the west side of Lake Okeechobee. It was a very clear day, unusual. But this time of year, they do get the dry cold fronts that come down and sometimes touch even Miami, and this was one of those occasions. Now look at that. Wow, look at that contrast. Man, this is really awesome. Now over on the left, we're going to be seeing, so that's the Atlantic Ocean in the distance, and way out there under the wing, that's Cape Canaveral Kennedy Space Center out there. Look at that. You see that pointed tip out there? Just incredible. So we're using a 950 nanometer long pass infrared filter with the Sony camcorder that has the night shot capability. Just incredible sights. Now I'm zooming out here hoping to see the Bahamas, which I've seen before, but they're a little bit to the right. So I'm not looking in the right direction. Look at that, we can see way out there. Just incredible. Wait until we get over the Gulf, folks. It's gonna be just incredible seeing across Florida from the Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean. Here we can barely a tall building. I think that's the vehicle assembly building. But right by the coast, I think those are the launch pads. Now, there's a lot of turbulence in the air. We're seeing across quite a large volume of air mass, and it's not that the camera is out of focus, it's just turbulence, a lot of turbulence, and the image just comes out appearing to be out of focus, but it's not. Yeah, this is incredible. It's probably on the order of maybe 100 miles or so. Yeah, look at that. Just incredible, folks. Just incredible. Now we're flying over the Gulf, and we're going to look across to the Atlantic Ocean. Look at that, we're looking across Florida kind of at an angle a little bit towards the northeast. And way in the distance, there's clouds that, per the satellite maps, look to be hanging over North Carolina, the Outer Banks. This is incredible, folks. We're looking at quite some distance out there, maybe 400, 500 miles across the Atlantic. Look at this clarity. Unbelievable, folks. I'm just so amazed every time I see this footage in infrared from the air. Look at that flat earth. Wow. Just incredible. Wow, did you see that luminosity? It's right there. It's a cloud or something. Yeah. See, it's clear. And then to the left, we're starting to see precipitation over in the direction of North Carolina. Unbelievable.
Our control is telling us intermittent light turbulence here and there along our route of flight. Right now, while it's smooth at this moment, turn the fasten seatbelt sign off. I would ask you, however, to please remember to maintain your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. The seatbelt sign will probably come on and off several times
This is unbelievable, folks. Have a look at this vastness and how far we can see from over the Gulf. Look how clear we can see the coastline. And way in the distance, it's very clear. Look at that. Unbelievable. I've never seen it so clear out here. Usually on the East Coast there's a lot of thunderstorms and clouds, but this is in January and a cold front came down. Look at that. Unbelievable. That's Florida in the distance. We're almost in the middle of our flight path over the Gulf. Look at that. Just wow, folks. Just wow. Unbelievable. The world is incredibly flat, folks, but let's do some analysis, just in case we don't believe our eyes. Now let's calculate the radius of the Earth from this imagery. So I started first by lining all the features horizontally first. Hernando Beach, Lake George, and the Atlantic Ocean. And knowing that these features line up, I intersect with the flight path to determine where exactly I was at. So here we're in Google Earth, and I already put starting position there at 0 after I kind of lined things up with the flight path on my screen. I put a straight edge. So we can see the measurements here. And notice that lake lines up also in the imagery with Lake George there. And this other lake kind of goes halfway horizontally. So there's the coast. I'm going to adjust this slightly. So there we have the measurements. Now we can do some analysis knowing our altitude that we were flying at, 28,000 feet, and the distance out to the western edge of Lake George and the coast with the Atlantic. So notice in the inset the trigonometry that we're using here, simple trigonometry. We're calculating the look down angle down to the western edge of Lake George at 3.05 degrees, knowing the horizontal distance, and the distance out to the coast, which is 2.25 degrees. Very simple trigonometry. This is the screen grab that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to rotate it and crop it, because obviously the horizon is not level. So I've created a scale in yellow, the bottom number 3.05 and then the middle 2.25 degrees came from the previous analysis of the look down angle. So those are given from that, and then based on the scale in this image, I extrapolate 1.69 degrees up to what appears to be the horizon, or at least where the ocean seems to terminate in some haze. And I've also calculated where the horizon should appear for the accepted radius of the Earth of 3959 miles, and that's down at about 2.96 degrees. Well, surprise, surprise, it's not there. Then I've also calculated a commonly used value of 4/3 R, which is used for satellite dish pointing. And scientists tell us that it's due to refraction, etc. So we have to compensate. And so I plotted that on there and noticed that it's not, where it's supposed to be. There is yet more land out there. And then I decided to calculate an equivalent radius if my look down angle was really 1.69 degrees, which it is part of this image. And that's when I get about 12,180 miles, almost 3 times larger than the accepted radius of the Earth. And the equation I use for that is in the lower left corner. In this equation, h stands for the height or altitude of the aircraft, and we were flying at about 28,000 feet, which works out to 5.3 miles. And th is the angle, the look down angle to a specific feature. In this case, the horizon, 1.69 degrees. So I plug those values in and I calculate 12,180 miles. So there you have it, folks. Quite incredible. Now, if refraction were not at work and also haze that attenuates infrared, that horizon would be even higher. We could see even farther. And so make sure you guys stay tuned, because I'm going to put together a series. I'm working on a series of presentations, highly technical with a lot of math, to explain this whole new strange reality. Why, what's really bending light? Is the Earth really absolutely flat, or is it just locally flat? When we observe the surface from the air, it appears flat when we look at steeper angles, but out towards the horizon it begins to roll off due to refraction. So, however, when multiple areas are observed, for example different patches, and we try to put those together like land surveyors do, there arises the need to rubber sheet the imagery to make it match, right? So that's interpreted as needing to compensate for the curvature of the globe, but it's actually a refraction phenomena that makes us do that. So I'm going to put together really awesome things on the curved space-time and how gravity and the velocity of propagation are related right here on the Earth, you know. Einstein came up with these ideas, and supposedly they validated this, you know, light bending in a gravitational field during an eclipse. But we don't need eclipses, folks. It's right here, right around us. You know, and it's quite exciting. And we're going to show how refraction actually acts upward. So on the surface, what we interpret as a globe of a particular radius is actually due to this curved space-time and how light curves. Quite fascinating, folks. Anyway, that's all I've got for you folks right now. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and do stay tuned for more. I wish all of you a wonderful day.